I love snow. It just has this way of making everything look clean, everything look perfect. My whole life I've been a perfectionist. Everything needs to be just right, and maybe you can relate. Maybe you like everything to be just right. But trying to apply perfection to an imperfect world can lead to a lot of problems, and that's especially true if you want to become a successful photographer. Let me show you what I mean.
As you can see, we've come out and it's absolutely glorious today for photography. We've just had this absolute downpouring of snow that we really weren't expecting, especially in March. But it does mean it's going to be quite difficult to film today, so you might have to bear with me. But that's sort of what I wanted to talk about today. When it comes to photography, when you first start off, you're joining a really elite group of people. There are some fantastic photographers out there. And naturally, as humans, we like to compare ourselves with these people. You combine that with a bit of perfectionism and you get a very difficult environment to actually grow in. And when it comes to being a perfectionist with photography, it really can hold you back. So when I talk about perfectionism, I'm not talking about holding yourself to a high standard. I think that's still really important. Because if you don't hold yourself to a high standard, then you'll never progress. And that's a really bad thing. There is a big difference between holding yourself to a really high standard and trying to get better and better every time you do photography, and perfectionism, because perfectionism will actually make you a worse photographer. And there's quite a few reasons for that. Oh man, it's on days like today, I'm glad my video camera is weather sealed, because I am getting absolutely soaked, and I'm keeping my Canon wrapped up while I'm not using it because it's really wet rain. It's only just cold enough for it to snow. And what that means is that you get, when the snow lands, it becomes very wet instantly. So my gloves are soaked through, I'm soaked through, and I don't think it's going to be getting any better. Snow really shows just how dirty sheep are, doesn't it? Now don't tell anyone this, but I'm only pretending to take this picture with this camera. Because I actually took this on my video camera, that picture you've just seen. I didn't want to change the lens in this weather. This isn't weather sealed and I don't want to risk this camera. So I've got a wider angle lens on my video camera, so I use that. Let's just pretend though for the video. One of the main problems with perfectionism when it comes to our photography is that it can cause us to procrastinate. And that is a really bad thing. If you think, oh, the conditions aren't right, or I just need to come back at a different time, then eventually you'll never take your pictures. It's always better to take the picture and then delete it because it's rubbish than not to have taken the picture at all. By holding ourselves to a standard that's too high with our photography, we can probably miss out on a lot of photos. There have been so many times when I've thought, is this composition really going to work? I'll take it anyway. And then when I get back, it turns out that it was one of the best photos of the day. And that's true so many times. Whereas if I'd let my perfectionism control that and think, you know what, I'm not going to bother taking this photo because it's just not good enough, there would probably be a lot less photos in my portfolio. We should constantly be trying to get better and better photos. And the only way we're going to do that is to take both the good photos and sometimes the bad photos as well. By shutting out our perfectionism, we enable ourselves to just get over that procrastination and actually get the photos that we want.
Hi, me in the office a couple of days later. I've noticed as I've been editing this video that a few bits are out of focus. I think the falling snow confused the autofocus of my camera a bit too much. The autofocus isn't perfect on this camera, and the perfectionist in me is screaming at that, as I'm sure you can imagine. But that's the wonderful world of YouTube. I haven't got somebody to check focus for me, so I have to rely on my camera, and sometimes it does let me down. But anyway, I just wanted to cut in quickly because I wanted to let you know that I have finished my digital zine. Now, I've been working on this over the winter, just a collection of some of my favourite photos I've got this winter. How I got them, some of the locations I got them at, and also I've included little teaching points, little boxes with lessons related to those pictures. If that's something you're interested in, then it'll soon be available for sale on my website, joshuapeg.com. Or if you're a member of the Joshua Peg Photography Club, then you can access this right now as soon as you finish this video. There'll be details on how you can download it, and it's included in your membership, so you haven't got to pay anything extra for this. You can just download it and use it. So let's get back out to the field now, where I think I get my favourite picture of ducks that I've ever got in my life.
One of the other problems with perfectionism is that it leads to lazy composition. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, when you see something, a subject that you want to take a picture of, and it doesn't immediately fit into a neat composition, you might think, well, because I can't get this composition perfect, I won't even try. You just take a picture of the subject and the composition isn't right. You just need to give it the time that it deserves so that you can see how it fits into its surroundings and how you can make a really balanced picture. If you can't immediately see something, your perfectionist might tell you, well, I obviously can't compose this correctly. I'll just take it as it is. But laziness really doesn't suit photography at all. It's a weird sort of thing that perfectionism could lead to laziness, but it's true in all sorts of areas of life. People who are perfectionists in all sorts of different stuff, if they feel they can't do something perfectly, I've certainly been guilty of this, then they just don't bother doing it. And this is different to procrastination in that you're not putting it off, you're just not giving it what it deserves. And that really will damage your photography. For example, with this composition here, you may recognize this. I've been here before when I was testing out my video camera when I first got it. And I wanted to come back to the scene on a snowy day, but not while it was snowing. Now, the issue we've got today is that this snow is meant to turn immediately into rain and wash everything away. There's not going to be a sort of calm in between where the snow stops, so we get that lovely, calm, sort of frosted look everywhere. The snow is constantly falling. The perfectionist in me is telling me, don't bother taking this picture. There's going to be snow streaks across it. It's going to be absolutely pointless. It's not going to be a portfolio picture. But also the pragmatist in me and the part of me that knows that photography isn't just about getting portfolio pictures tells me to ignore that perfectionism, take the picture anyway, and enjoy photography. Tell me what you think this turns out like. You see, anybody can take a picture when things are just right, but being willing to make mistakes and take those imperfect photos, that's what makes a good photographer. Somebody that is willing to make mistakes, learn from them, get better, they're the ones that are going to carry on being better and better photographers. Not somebody that just waits for things to be just right. I've been waiting for snow for ages, and it isn't the perfect type of snow that I wanted. But we don't live in a perfect world, so we've got to work with what we've got. That is what will make you a good photographer. I'll see you next time.